Today it's time for the grand finals of the ESL Open Cup 128 Americas. Game number 1 in this best-of-5 series of StarCraft 2 takes place on the map Data C. Spawning right here in the top right-hand corner. Playing with the red Zerg drones, we have none other than Scarlett. And our opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Protoss pieces. We are looking at SKillous' main Nexus. Alrighty, so Scarlett versus SKillous in a best-of-5 series. As we're making this video, according to Ultralisk, Scarlett is currently considered to be the rank 32 in the world. SKillous right now, according to that same website, currently considered to be the rank 20. Now, I've casted a lot of Scarlett games over the years, but I honestly haven't featured SKillous nearly as often as I probably should. This man really is amongst the very best Protoss players from the European server, and obviously he's been playing for a very long time. I guess MaxPax has been... stealing a little bit of that spotlight, a little bit of that thunder, just because, well, MaxPax is such an interesting story, and obviously he climbed to basically be considered to be right now the best Protoss player from the European region. Unless Showtime has something to say against that, but there's no denying that MaxPax has come up very quickly, and he's gotten very good very quickly too. SKillous, however, has been, climbing through the ranks over the years, and right now he's certainly amongst the very best European StarCraft 2 pros that we have. Now, speaking of this grand finals, so this is the ESL Open Cup 128. It's a smaller online tournament, but since it takes place every single week, a lot of very good players do sign up because they know where to go and they know when the tournament is going to take place and when it will roughly end and all that. So, in order to get to the grand finals, Scarlett most notably took down Mr. Bjorn 2-0, which is very impressive. SKillous, on the other end, had a couple of trickier opponents along the way as well. Most notably, he ended up taking down Solar 2-0, and then also Hero 2-1. So, you know, that's just a bit of an indicator of where these players are currently at. So on the day that this match was played, there's no denying that both of them definitely felt in shape. So we'll find out exactly what ended up going down in this best-of-5. I think it should be very interesting. All of the games are being played on new maps as well. So, yeah. We'll see how these games are going to develop over the course of the series. Now, broadly speaking, right now in Protoss versus Zerg, I think there's two playstyles for Protoss right now. So there's that much more laid-back approach where you go for basically whatever unit is the most gas-heavy one. That may very well be what SKillous decides to go for here, is after... Actually, hold up right now. I was going to say after warp gates, but that's not what's going on here at all. Scarlett is scouting that cyber core right now. She sees the spinning inside of that cyber core too, so she's definitely got to make the assumption that this will be a warp gate based approach, but it's actually air weapons level 1 first. Alright, that means the SKillous won't be able to warp in a whole lot of units. Obviously, you can still produce them out of the gateway as per usual, but it is a little bit slower, and... I wonder what he's got in store right here in game number 1. It's kind of funky. I haven't actually seen a +1 air weapons this quickly in quite a while. It's going to be Void Race first, apparently. All right. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's going to be like a second Stargate coming up and maybe like a Phoenix follow-up or something along those lines. Either way, what I was going to say is that on the opposite end of that Protoss spectrum, right now in the Protoss versus Zerg matchup, we have that style that Hero really likes to go for, where he goes for a heavy gateway-based army, and he expands extremely quickly. It's kind of funny because those two playstyles are, polar opposites. So, it's going to be an Oracle as a follow-up. Don't know if that's an intentional supply block. I almost feel like it is. So, if you are supply blocked, it doesn't actually show what is coming out of that Stargate next. Okay. So, I don't know if it was intentional or what exactly the plan was, but it's a cancel on the Oracle after starting it up, after trying to maybe trick the Overlord right there into thinking it was going to be an Oracle as a follow-up, and then the supply block happened, so it wasn't actually showing what was going on. Anyhow, it's going to be another Void Ray. +1 air weapons is going to finish up very soon. Scarlett right now checking here to see what's going on. I don't know the exact timing at which Warp Gates is supposed to be done. I'm sure that Scarlett knows. So, yeah, maybe she poked up on top of that ramp right now and realized, okay, wait a second. Those gateways should have already morphed into warp gates by now. I'm not exactly sure if that should have already been finished by the time that she checked. Either way, third Nexus planted down pretty early on as well, all things considered. And now we're gonna go into warp gates. Interesting. So normally if you go for a very quick attack upgrade, you do it specifically so you can go for... you know, like a timing, right? Because this is definitely a bit of a gamble. If you have +1 flyer attacks, sure, your Void Rays will be able to do more damage, but if this would be a bunch of Zerglings right now trying to kill the third Nexus, you can't just warp in a few Adepts to try and defend it, right? Now, I guess in the current meta, it's not very popular to just go around and do so, but this is very strange. Alright. So now the Robo Facility, Twilight Council, Forge, and everything is coming up. SKillous definitely not gonna stick around on Void Rays either. Unless he really wants to just, No, I think this is a transition towards a ground-based army as a follow-up. This is kind of cool, yeah. So there's the +1 ground weapons. It's just that, like, even though this is cool and I don't know, it's worth discussing and spending the first 5 minutes of this cast on, I don't think it really paid off. I don't think really a whole lot was achieved, other than maybe some confusion of the side of Scarlett, or on the side of Scarlett, but I don't think she really cares all that much. Like, the thing about Zergs, right, in these sort of scenarios, is that they're like, okay, I don't know exactly what's going on, so I guess I'll make more queens, right? That's kind of the go-to Zerg approach. Zerg players don't want you to know this, okay, but I'll tell you this info as a Zerg player myself. Generally speaking, when Zerg players get a little bit confused in the early game, she's probably clicked on the Void Rays by now and realized that they have +1 air weapons done. You just add on an extra set of queens or two, right? And then, you know, you'll probably be fine against whatever the Protoss player is going to try to throw at you. Queens are really, really good when it comes to that early game defense. Either way, look at this. We have like a crescent moon coming up right here from SKillous, creating a wall over here for sure. So that is definitely a tight wall off on top of that ramp. But obviously there's an entrance over on the other end. Anyways, yeah, great queen positioning here from Scarlett. Not really running into any issues whatsoever. And because of that, I'm really liking her position quite a bit. She's gone up towards a 4th hatchery very quickly, which is awesome. She's going to be able to continue droning here for a while. And while at this point it's probably a bit of a head-scratcher as to what kind of unit composition you want to play, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, Zergs usually want to try and make an army as late as possible, and in the early game you only really have a couple of units that you can reliably make anyhow. So it's going to be Zerglings right here with +1 melee for the time being. A Hive is already coming up very quickly too. Yeah, it's just going to be Zerglings and Banelings for now, and then I'm expecting like a Hydra den or something like that, but I was thinking maybe like a transition into Lurkers would make sense. What is the Hive timing here for? Not entirely sure. Good read right here by SKillous. SKillous probably has realized at this point, yeah, that there's pretty much only Zerglings. If you haven't seen any Roaches, things like Archons and Zealots are going to be pretty good. Well, I mean, that's a lot of queens. Yeah, I don't think you want to go that far. That is maybe nice to cancel a hatchery with, but I don't think you can really face off against an army of 13 queens. Yeah, Zerg in the early game doesn't really have that many options. So queens are usually the go-to answer to most of these sort of starts. Anyhow, oh my god, we're rushing up to an Ultra Cavern. That is an 8-minute Ultralisk Cavern against Protoss. Hold up right now. So we're going double upgrades here. So Scarlett is upgrading melee and armor. And she's going straight into an Ultralisk Cavern as soon as she got towards that Hive tech. Zerglings over here just trying to be annoying. I honestly think Queens, Lings, and Banes and a Spine Crawler or two are going to be more than enough to push back this force. This is a bit of a strange Protoss army too, by the way. I wouldn't be surprised if these two practice with each other quite frequently. Maybe I'm mistaken, but like, it seems like there's a lot of backstory between these two, right? Because you'd certainly imagine like, well, a Roach Warren at the very least. It almost feels like these players know what the opponent is going for before the opponent has actually, you know, shown their hand. Anyhow, there we go. Ultralisks are currently building here for the Zerg. Adrenal Glands is like, I don't know, 3/4 of the way done, +2 melee. This is going to be a Zerg army that will pack a punch. The problem is, Ultras are normally not played against Protoss, unless it's like a heavy carrier style, which is the exact opposite of what's going on here. Main reason is that a lot of these Protoss units do counter Ultralisk. The thing is, if suddenly like 5 Ultras show up, they have their armor upgrades and all that, will Protoss really be able to deal with that? I think if SKillous realized that this would have been a transition towards Ultras, so right now he sees the Ultra Cavern, yeah, Immortals would be the obvious answer. So a second Robo Facility and Immortals I think would be a very good idea. Archons are obviously going to be pretty good as well. Zealots are actually pretty good too. Now this is going to be a juicy bailing hit, yeah. Alright. So this is now forcing SKillous into Archon Immortal Zealot. I actually like this position for Scarlett quite a bit. Even though Ultras are like one of the absolute worst units that Zerg has, the fact that she is going up to 5 hatcheries here quite comfortably, the fact that she still has like I was gonna say a dozen, but 17 queens available to just transfuse those units back up to full whenever she wants, and the fact, of course, that Protoss hasn't been able to expand very rapidly here whatsoever. SKillous is only just now really going for a 4th. That's really not that great. Okay, Void Rays will be recalled. Yeah, it's mostly the eco advantage here that I like quite a bit. Now, Ultras really do pack a punch when they get into the combat, right? Oftentimes, one of the problems you run into with Ultras is that, well, they just don't, right? They kind of just spend all their time walking around. Those Archons are so low! Okay. Yeah, no. It's... They have a tendency to derp. They get stuck on Zerglings and Banelings, and they get stuck on everything, right? They I don't know. If they were a little bit smaller, they would probably be better. Would have liked to see Scarlett pulling back those Ultralisk to try and heal them back up to full. Anyhow. Bit of a crazy game. I don't like the rate at which SKillous is expending here. I think he should be up to 5 Nexi already. Like, he's got 69 probes, which is quite nice. But, I don't know if it's nice enough. So, double Spire as a follow-up. I hope that Scarlett here, for her sake, is not misreading the situation. I don't think she is, though. She's going Pathogen Glance, which usually is an indicator that from here, she wants to transition towards Infestors and Brute Lords. Which would make sense, I guess, if... Like, if you show Ultralisks, Protoss will 100% start up a counter towards Ultralisk, right? So now it's gonna be triple Robo Facility Immortal Production, right? Which is gonna be fantastic against Ultras, but guess what? Those units are really, really bad against units that fly. Like, for example, Brute Lords. So maybe that's the main goal for the Ultras here, to force out a... like, a response from the opponent. And then the response to the response is gonna be the actual answer. It's a little bit of a strange game here. Yeah, so Scarlett has got 17 queens and 6 ultras. There's 6 immortals and 7 archons, though. There's 7 immortals right now on the other side of the map. Only just now is when Storm comes up, too. This is a very unconventional game, and I think I like this position quite a bit more here for Scarlett. Yeah, I really don't like the spot that SKillous is in here. Like, SKillous needs to go for some sort of attack here, but the problem is with this many queens, right? Sure, Immortals absolutely plow through Ultralisks, but the queens are going to be able to keep those Ultras alive for a very long time. Now, keep in mind, with the new balance patch, queens can no longer transfuse off creep. I think if they could, Scarlett would probably go for a move out right about right now. Alright, there's the additional Stargates together with the Fleet Beacon too. But I really believe you need 10 gases for that if you want to properly pull this off as SKillous here. SKillous barely has any money. He's not maxed out here either. This game has been a head-scratcher the entire time so far. The +1 flyer attacks first. The Ultralisk rush from Scarlett. The rate at which Protoss here is expending. None of it really makes a whole lot of sense. And just because of the unit composition and the freedom here for Scarlett, I like her position quite a bit more. Doesn't mean, though, that she's going to win this match. But Protoss is going to run out of money in their main as well as in their natural very soon, so SKillous is going to have to get something done. Spending your last little bit of money here on additional static defense, is that really what we want to get done? Anyhow, time for the spring cleaning. I know it's the middle of summer, but... middle of summer. Depending on where you're at, okay? Middle of winter if you're somewhere in Australia. Although I guess, you know, those temperatures are still going to be relatively warm. Anyhow, here we go. Fungal Growth's coming up. This is the first time, I think, that the Brute Lords are spotted too. And there's, like, nothing available here for the Protoss player to deal with those Brutes. I mean, obviously, yeah, you can go for a transition right now towards Tempests, which I think is a pretty good choice. There's the 5th Nexus also coming up, but I don't think Scarlett is going to allow this one, right? Come on, Scarlett. It's time to go. Isn't it? Isn't it time to go? Ultra's coming in from the left. Why are we... What? Okay, I don't think she realizes that that base is up. No, okay, yeah, she didn't know that that base was up. I was gonna say, otherwise I think we would have seen the army moving on over in that direction. Well, looks like Scarlett will find out about it here regardless. Yeah, Infestors are gonna make this a really tricky fight. The Tempest, though, are gonna be able to fire at their maximum range against those Brute Lords. Their air-to-air range is very significant, assuming they actually have something to detect for them. You can see they can shoot away really, really far. Now that the Tempest have been spotted, though, I wonder what Scarlett's approach is gonna be. There's no Neuro... No, there is Neuro Parasite available, so that is something she can definitely use against those Tempests, but kind of tricky to actually get underneath those. Get close enough. Queen's just transfusing the Brutes back up to full. Couple Corruptors here added into the mix as well. The Storm is going to force those to back off for now, but... as strange as this game is, it feels like Scarlett has been in complete control pretty much the entire time. Like, there hasn't been a single moment here where I've been concerned for her game, you know? Okay. Plenty of Queens available to transfuse this. I mean, Queens, I guess, are best combined, especially in the late game. By the way, there's a big army here inside of the natural. But Queens, I guess, are best combined together with Brute Lords and then also Ultralisks, right? So it makes some sort of sense. Ultras here are pulled away from the rest of the pack to clean up that army that was inside of the net. But yeah, SKillous is slowly going broke, and Scarlett still has plenty of money in the bank. Fungal growth preventing this army from retreating as quickly as they would like to. A couple of storms dealing some damage as well. But like, once you're stuck on Mass Tempest, what are you gonna do? Like, Zerg is just gonna, like, produce more Corruptors. Like, Mass Tempest is not gonna win you a game. At that point, Zerglings and Corruptors will just, you know, tear you apart. Fourth Nexus now killed as well. This mostly feels like a bit of a desperation right here. There's more Corruptors coming up, and Zerglings now also available, so they're going to be able to get rid of this Prism shenanigans quite a bit. Alright, here come the Queens. Tempests are still up in the air, though. They can't transfuse right now, but this is Scarlett shouting, "Get out of my game!" Maybe a little bit of overextension, because this is still a very nice area, a very nice choke point to storm in. But SKillous is dead broke at this point, and despite the fact that he's making an army, he's trying his very best to get, you know, something good going. I don't think Scarlett really cares too much about losing this base. Now finally that the Prism has been dealt with by those Corruptors, GG is called, and Scarlett wins a very strange game number 1. Okay, next up, we find ourselves on a map called Cosmic Sapphire. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't actually featured this map yet on the YouTube channel. I mean, I went over it in my initial impressions video of the new maps, but other than that, I haven't casted a game on this map just yet. So let us go ahead and have a quick little look. So this map, I mean, I had a look around already, of course. It's got some very beautiful textures on... I want to just emphasize the background here for a second, right? The backdrop. I mean, we can talk about the map layout all we want, but I gotta say, this map aesthetically is really, really nice. I kind of like the glossy effect right over here inside of the main base of the Protoss. I mean, it's there as well on the side of the Zerg, but I guess Scarlett is just covering her entire main with creep. If it's up to her, she will just cover all of the textures on this map with creep very, very quickly. Anyhow, we've got like a scent texture right over here too. And then there's like a, almost like a sandpaper type of texture in the top right-hand corner, but also in the bottom left. I really like the aesthetic of, well, pretty much all the maps that we have right now, but especially over the last few years, like, the map makers really have dialed in the aesthetic of all of the maps, and I think that this one may very well be one of my favorites, at the very least as far as, like, you know, just the look of the map goes. It's very easy to get carried away with making a very pretty looking map and, you know, make something that gets, you know, raving reviews, I guess, from viewers as they're watching the games, but it's tricky to create a map that's also legible for the players, right? Like, you gotta find a balance between, yeah, dressing up the map and making it look as pretty as possible, but you also want to make sure that it's actually as legible as possible. And I feel like this map really absolutely nails that balance. So obviously there's some dead space over here too, where you have like a little bit more variety, right? We have like a, I don't know, kind of looks like a parcel sorting center type of thing right over here, where shipments are being collected and they're ready to be sent out. This is apparently the luggage area on Amsterdam Airport right now. They just had a... I guess there's any major airport in Europe right now anyways. But they just threw away all of the luggage. Put them on all on one big pile. And maybe some of it will be processed. But it doesn't look all too good anymore. Anyhow, let's talk about the map layout a little bit before this game gets underway, right? So we have a standard main base right over here. Pretty large. SKillous, by the way, going for a Stargate. Then there is a jump-up pad right over here in the back of the main base. Not particularly useful for, well, Protoss versus Zerg. We've got a narrower choke in the natural. So normally a choke for the natural expansion is 3x3 structures. Like, for example, a gateway. Like, for example, a cybercore. You can see right here, SKillous managed to wall this in a little bit easier. Although that pylon is still serving a bit of a function there too, though. So gotta be careful you don't get too carried away. I don't think it can wall with just 2 structures, right? But Zerg, for example, could definitely, in like a ZVZ, put down 2 Evo chambers over here, and then, you know, Queens in the middle would certainly be able to block any sort of Zergling run-bys. So it might, yeah, it might turn out to be a more defendable map, especially in the earlier stages. From there, though, from the natural, we go into the third base. You can go either up here or all the way down here. Both of those are relatively easy to acquire, so the first 4 bases, yeah, pretty straightforward. From there, the map really opens up a little bit, right? So you can go towards the bottom left. 6 golden mineral fields right over here, but the problem obviously is that, well, first off, your units have to walk over the sandpaper, so that seems a little bit rough. And secondly, obviously, it's quite far away. That might be, you know, a more important thing. Adepts, by the way, in the main base right now. Yeah, very nicely done right here by SKillous. Alright, 5 drones for 2 adepts. Definitely pretty good. Oracle right now flying in as well. There's 2 queens available at the third base, so I don't really expect that this is really gonna get you too much. Come on, queen. Yeah, queen positioning right there was not as good as you'd like it to see. Or you'd like to see it, rather. Anyhow, alternatively, obviously, you can move on over towards the top or right-hand corner. There's more bases over here. This one has a high-yield gas as well. Obviously, the map is mirrored. So you see the same thing right over here. Top right is like the strangest part of this map, I would say, where there's nothing. Like, it's just like a run-by area. There's a couple of bridges over here, too, which I honestly really, really like. And there's also a whole lot of rocks in the middle of the... Ah, okay, I was gonna say, there's definitely rocks. I've seen rocks on this map. Yeah, there's quite a few of them all over the map to basically, like, make the map a bit wider, right? You can create a bit more room for your units to maneuver around in. Anyhow, very pretty looking map. Aesthetically, I think this is probably my favorite right now. I mean, some of the other maps are really nice too, but I think Stargazers and Moondance are maybe a little bit too light. I talk about map aesthetics a lot over the last couple of weeks. It's maybe a little bit silly, but over the years, I've seen so many StarCraft maps have just such a variety of... and this one really nails it. It's made, by the way, by Milo on Fire. Very experienced map maker. So yeah, cool to see that he's got another map in the StarCraft 2 map pool. Good micro here, though. Very nice micro. No, don't lose that one. Hello. Don't lose that one either. Hello. Okay, bit strange. Either way, though, 11 drones here at the expense of 2 adepts and an oracle. Pretty good start here, all things considered, but maybe not quite at the level as, for example... Hello, what's this? Hello! Okay, don't know what that was. Maybe not at the level as, for example, Hero, though. Hero seems to be very good at that Oracle control right now in the earlier stages of the game. This time around, we will see that more Hero-esque approach. There was a robo facility already built, but we also have a... Yeah, there was one built. Maybe it's just for the observers. Anyways, we do have a transition right now towards Blink together with the +1 ground weapons. Are we going to see a 6.5 minute 4th Nexus 2? Honestly, I don't think so, because we're already going up to 8 gateways here. Once again, look at this very liberal usage of structures for the wall-off. 1 pylon to rule them all. No, it's going to be a slower approach. I thought maybe SKillous wanted to go for like some aggression here too. Maybe he will, but he's definitely investing more of his money into static defense and stuff. So this is kind of interesting. That choke point that's created here, like 2 choke points are created over here because of that little square. Don't fall in there, man. That's a safety concern for sure. There's like a wheel moving down below there too. Oh, wow. I was going to say, why are there multiple colors there? Look at that. Interesting. I would think I would say the only thing that really bothers me about this map so far is the fact that it's called Cosmic Sapphire. When I think of a sapphire, I think of blue. This map has, like, nothing is, like, there's no, anyhow. At least it's no Jagannatha, or Jagannatha, or whatever that map was called. My god. I didn't realize I was such a picky StarCraft player either. But, over the years, apparently, the maps really have, yeah, become a source. But honestly, like, the maps are one of the most important things when it comes to deciding the balance of StarCraft 2 games. It's such a critical aspect. Zerg, by the way, this time around, not going straight into the Ultralisk cavern. We have a much more conventional approach this time around here from Scarlett, as she's going straight into the Lurker Den here. Roach Hydra. She probably is anticipating that massive gateway-based army, so that's the reason why we're seeing Hydras into Lurkers quite frequently right now. Hydra into Lurker is the best way to stop that massive gateway army, but oftentimes it can be tricky to get to that part. SKillous definitely is a more laid-back Protoss, right? Like, he's not really playing as aggressively as we've, yeah, come to expect if we look at the very least, the hero games. More than happy to just sort of warp in, wander around the map, pick off a couple units here and there, but it's all relatively passive. Charge and +2 are going to finish up. This does give enough time as well, though, for Scarlett right now to transition towards her hive. And with that, of course, those Lurker upgrades. Roachling Bane, Hydra Lurker. Or no Banelinks, I guess, in this particular game. But all of those units are, yeah, very good at stopping that hyper-aggression from the Protoss. So Scarlett right now is going to go ahead and grab her 5th base. Even though the Zerg units don't really want to walk on this very rough, very coarse sandpaper, they won't have to as soon as the creep is covering everything. Obviously, Scarlett has always been known for her amazing creep spread. Maybe there is some Sapphire going on over here, but I don't think it grows like that. It could, maybe, but... Is that a bookcase? What? What is that? It's like the entire Harry Potter series right over there. The Philosopher's Stone on the left. Amazing. Yeah, so she's going Hydra Lurker Viper. I'm a little bit surprised by the passivity right here from SKillous. Like, SKillous has clearly read what's going on in this game. And he's like, yep, that's fine. I'll just go ahead and do my own thing. The problem is, Zerg is going to get to a very strong army here over the course of the next couple of minutes. So Scarlett is going to be able to go towards that maxed out Lurker force, and that is going to pack a punch. So already, the Adaptive Talons upgrade has been queued up too. So after the ranged upgrade, the Seismic Spines, those Lurkers are going to get their Speedy Burrow upgrade too. And while there will be an answer for those Speedy Burrow Lurkers here eventually, with more Stargates coming up, as well as that Fleet Beacon, by the time that we have those upgrades done, there definitely won't be a heavy amount of Skytles out just yet. Okay, nice snipe right there from that Viper. A little bit surprised that Scarlett let that one happen, but fair enough. Zealot's right now in the top right-hand corner, trying to be annoying, but Lurker should be able to clear that out. Zealot run by over here in the natural as well, though. This time around, clearing out a lot of drones. Nice move right here, and this is apparently the moment where I was gonna say, I expected Scarlett to be able to be the one who decides the pacing of this game, but apparently SKillous is the one who feels a little bit more adventurous. And with this Zealot run by, and with this, like, relatively fake push, because I don't think SKillous really wanted to commit into a Lurker army. Oh god. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. SKillous did buy a little bit of time right now for the first carriers to start up. Interesting. Yeah, that Prism is probably going to have to get recalled and out of there. Lurkers, though, are getting closer. Scarlett just built like 18 drones. Just because she, yeah, lost quite a few of them to that Zealot run by. There's the third carrier coming up, plus one air weapon as well. Dude, look at the wall-ups over here. SKillous is playing SimCity. Booted up the wrong game today, my man. It happens. It happens. Okay, good feedbacks right there on those Vipers. That does mean that the carriers won't get abducted on top of the Ultralisk, but honestly, there's really not that many Hydras in the first place. Then again, the Lurkers are already getting awfully close. Is there enough right now for the Protoss player to actually clean all of this up? Drones in the meantime are being killed once more on the other side of the map as Scarlett is desperately pulling back a small chunk of her army. Looks like there are enough Hydras though to kill all of the interceptors for now, but 4 more carriers are just about to pop out of those Stargates. Scarlett will probably be pretty happy with just killing this base and just trading armies. She's gonna go for a Hydra follow-up, which is... We haven't seen Hydras being used against Protoss over the last, I want to say, year or so, very frequently at all. Mainly because they're not very good against Skytools together with, like, Disruptors or Skytools together with, like, High Templar. But since a bunch of the High Templar were killed, yeah, 7 of them have gone down here. Really want to try and keep those alive. If you can find a moment where the Hydras can kill the Interceptors as they are popping out of the carriers, it works. Alrighty, next up. Tropical Sacrifice. I've skipped the first 2 minutes of this game just because we can get to the action a little bit quicker that way. As expected, it's gonna be a normal opener here from the both of them. No early game aggression here from Scarlett. No early game aggression from SKillous either. I'm still sitting here watching the game intently, but obviously if there's nothing going on, there's only so much we can talk about. Stargate opener once again here from SKillous. Honestly, we may as well skip the first 3 minutes of the games because recently, especially over the last couple of weeks, I've seen, well, Oracle openers. I want to say probably 9 out of 10 games. I mean, I guess we had a Void Ray start today, right? We had a Void Ray opener. Anyhow, a little bit of variety, but even SKillous apparently not too keen on that start. Does decide to go for the conventional warp gates first this time around once again. Alright, so, well, it's going to be an Oracle. So, Scarlett sees this as well with the Overlord. She sees the little bubble right over there, the little ball inside of that Stargate, so she knows that she's going to have some form of anti-air available in about 30 seconds from now inside of the natural. Usually those Oracles, they arrive at about the 4-minute mark or so, kind of depending on the size of the map and the travel distance from natural to natural, but... yeah, having a couple queens available in each of the bases is very good. Zerg players have actually gotten very good too at like delaying their spore crawlers. So delaying the spores, definitely a little bit risky. But obviously if you can delay them, it's very nice to be able to save yourself that drone and then also that money. So Scarlett is going to start some of them up. But the initial little bit of harassment should be dealt with by just the queens alone. So perfect control right there by Scarlett. So she is going to go for a spore crawler, but this is mostly just as a... I'm going to wander around with the queens, so I don't want to lose to something stupid sort of spore crawler. Right? It's not so much to deal with the very first one. There will probably be a similar one here coming up inside of the main base very soon. It's one of those moves that can backfire though, right? When weaker Zerg players decide to skip there, like I've done it many times where I've decided to skip my spores and then my queens are not in the right spot and I lose 5 drones. Then obviously, it's not necessarily worth it. Alright, so once more, we've got the Twilight Council and the Forge as a follow-up. I would like to see SKillous going for such a rapid expansion too. So this third base is properly timed. I would like to see him taking a 4th Nexus at like 6:30 at the absolute latest. That is what most of the top-level Protoss players are going for right now, and I'm not really too impressed in this match just yet. So we'll see exactly what the plan is. This is quite nice, though. I should be able to get that. Ah! No, really? Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, little mistakes like that. I mean, one of the Oracles was out of energy. Maybe they were both out of energy, actually. No, I think they were both out of energy. That's why I didn't get it. Okay, since he started up the energy right there so confidently, I figured it'd be okay. Good defense right here by Scarlett. She's obviously already on match point, right? So... nicely done. SKillous, rather than going for the additional bases, is going to go for an additional gas. And then also the robo facility. Or 2 additional gases. This really is in stark contrast, though, with what we see coming out of Korea right now as far as this matchup goes. It's very different. So far, it really hasn't worked, though. Like, Scarlett has been going for a variety of unit compositions, and she's been totally okay. Double Spore in the main base right now. Alright. So there's the Templar Archives and the 6 additional gateways. +1 ground weapons is gonna finish up here over the next minute or so, and then we also have the charge upgrade coming up. Scarlett once more, opting to go for the Baneling speed, or the Baneling nest right here, and then the Roach speed. So, is she gonna plant down a Spire as well? Kinda curious about that. Yeah, SKillous is thinking the same thing. Yep, okay. A Spire here makes a lot of sense with the way that she's opening up. Oh my god, she grabs a couple High Templar! Ooh, grabbing that, like, group of High Templar is actually really nice. That's a lot of gas down the drain. By the way, the third Nexus, or sorry, the fourth Nexus did start up at a very respectable time this time around. So Spire here is cool because you can go for like a dozen Mutalisks and start harassing those Protoss bases. That's why SKillous decided to go for a single Phoenix. It's not a lot, but it's better than nothing. Alternatively, you can start up some blind Spore Crawler, or sorry, some blind Spore Crawlers, some blind Photon Cannons in each mineral line. Okay. Yeah, these two players are relatively passive. But, like, it's a different type of passive. Does that make any sense? Like, I'm sure you've noticed in a lot of the games I've casted recently of Protoss versus Zerg that we have a lot of Protosses going straight to Skytals or going into that heavy, heavy gateway aggression. But this is like SKillous playing a passive game while going, yeah, for a very conventional Archon Immortal type of mid-game. Which is something that we don't currently see that much, or at the very least not from the players that I've been checking out frequently. It's a little bit different than what we normally have. Anyhow, Spire at this point is done. Scarlett was checking inside of the main base to see what's going on, and she sees the production right here. So apparently rather than going for a group of Mutas, she decides to add on a couple of those Corruptors instead. Whenever we see this sort of passivity though, it always kind of strikes me as like a Zerg advantage. Because Scarlett right now is more than happy to play this game. She's scouting around, she roughly knows what she's going up against. She's not really forced to deal that much damage. So once again, look at that. The Sim City here from SKillous. It's coming up. Creating a lot of impenetrable walls over here, so Zerglings are not going to be able to just go through that very easily. But there's the Hive. Maybe we're going to morph that Spire into a greater Spire instead, and judging here by the amount of static defense that she's adding on, wouldn't be surprised. These are anti-Zealot run-bys and or anti-Dark Templar run-by Spine Crawlers right over here. This is just to make sure that the Zerg can focus on the aggression. Obviously, SKillous has been pretty happy with the aggression here so far today. Especially with the counterattacks. Like, when we get to, like, those maxed out fights, there's a lot of Zealots roaming the map too. Wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a bunch of Spines in this area of the map too. Alright. Prism moving towards the bottom right-hand corner, going to the beach. It's a very fluent beach, right? A very... a little unnatural. A little strange. Anyhow, Hive is going to finish up here. Wouldn't be surprised if once +1 melee finishes up, or +1 flyer attacks, if she decides to go straight into the Greater Spire as well. Yep. Alright, SKillous. Action is on you, dude. If you're not gonna move soon, you're gonna go up against Brute Lords. And like 8 Brute Lords kill all of this. Like 8 Brute Lords is enough to kill all of this. Well, Prism in the bottom right-hand corner got found as well. It's obviously the most likely location where something like that would hang out. Plus, if you look at the mini-map right now, there's Overlord spotters everywhere, so maybe Scarlett got a glimpse of it at some point. Anyways, those wall-offs over here are all pretty nice, though. Zerglings are not going to have an easy time getting in there. Scarlett is currently maxed out, which is one of the awkward moments. SKillous does have a spotter, by the way, right here, so he sees the timing of the Greater Spire. Wouldn't be surprised if this is going to prompt the proper aggression, okay? Good set of storms, although 3 High Templar end up going down. Scarlett just diving into it. She is happy to sacrifice some of her supplies so she can morph those Corruptors that she has into Brute Lords here, I imagine. Although it's only 4. It's really not that many. Honestly, this is a great moment for SKillous to fight. Yeah. This is right before the Zerg gets to that state where they're basically unstoppable. I mean, unless Protoss once again transitions towards a Skytle's army, right? But we are very far away from that. Scarlett trying to go for some run-bys here and there, but so far they've been pushed back very nicely. That static defense in that Sim City here from the Protoss player has been fantastic. And now, actually, in 11.5 minutes time, the army that Scarlett ends up with is a Ravager Ling Bane. Now, that is something that SKillous will fight any day of the week at this point in the match. Right as Scarlett was about to transition towards that maxed out army composition that, you know, Zerg players dream of, we see SKillous hitting a timing attack right at the correct moment. That one observer, I think it's gotten picked off right now, or maybe it unseated and it moved away, I'm not sure, but that observer scouting the Great Aspire timing here was perfect. Banelings right now, okay, rolling into some of the Protoss force, but also some of those Archons, and that's exactly where you don't want them to be. Pretty much all of the Immortals are still alive. Couple of liftoffs. Yeah, SKillous is playing very conservatively, but while it didn't work out in the previous 2 games, I think it is working out for him quite nicely over here. Even right now, though, he's kind of lacking a little bit of that killer instinct, right? Where he's basically winning the game, and he's like, okay, I'm going to add on a fleet beacon as well as 2 additional Stargates in case I have to transition. There it is. I think he could have just warped in more stuff, and he probably would have been able to win a little bit quicker, but SKillous just playing it as safe as he can. He ends up winning game number 3. Alright, now I think that this map, Moondance, is gonna favor these 2 as well, because, well, of course, there's that pocket base in the bottom right as well as in the top left-hand corner of the map, right? So there's not as many mineral fields right over here, but you can very easily acquire it. This is the main base, and you have a ramp that leads down towards the low ground, and then a ramp that leads towards the corner, and that's where that beautiful tucked-away base is located. Scarlett trying to fly her very first Overlord through the center of the main base, probably just in a way to scout that, but I don't think that's going to be the scouting pattern you want to go for. No, I think you probably want to go through the left side instead. You do want to try and keep track of when that opponent takes the third. Anyhow, Scarlett wants to go for a full mineral base with double gas geysers, and obviously she's playing Zerg, so she's going to be going for a hatchery right here, moving towards the front. But SKillous opting to go for, that was a 3-minute third Nexus in the top left-hand corner. You love to see it. No Stargate this time around either. Or not yet anyways. Nope, it's going to be another gateway as well as a forge. So this is SKillous saying, okay, I'm just going to try and make a whole load of gateway units here for the time being. Pylon here in the corner of the main base. This is, once again, a very conservative position. Also, pretty much a perfect position to scout for any incoming Nidus worms, for example. There's still a dark spot over there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to plug that hole in his defense here over the course of the next few minutes as well. Yep. SKillous keeping both hands on the steering wheel here. Not really taking any gambles whatsoever. The hallucinated Phoenixes are probably going to be the majority of his scouting here in the early game, or hallucinated Oracle apparently. Just trying to force out Spore Crawlers, and you know what? Kind of works. Kind of like it, yeah. I don't mind that whatsoever. Twilight and Robo facility here as the follow-up from SKillous, so there's the +1, and of course also the Blink upgrade. Just gonna play a very conventional game. Now let's see what Scarlett wants to go for, because obviously, while she doesn't know exactly what it is that the Protoss is doing here in this game, she can kind of scout for the bases at the front, but that's really about it. It is safe to assume, I think, that the base in the top left-hand corner has been acquired. You see the problem here though for the Zerg's vision? I think keeping that first Overlord alive and sending it through the left side of the map is probably the way to go, but I might be mistaken. The hallucinations right now are starting to become quite obvious, and one should know that these are hallucinations. There's our 4th Nexus at the 5-minute mark. Let's go. Let's go, SKillous. That's it. Anyhow, once you know that that is the case, she could probably figure out what's happening in this game. So, drones are coming up. How many drones does she want? Because the sky is the limit at this point. She can do whatever she likes. Base in the bottom right-hand corner has also been taken. Yep. So she's gonna go straight up to 5 gases? No, yeah, no. So this is gonna be 7 gases here in total. That is gonna be a respectable amount. What do you do with 7 gases? Is there a Zerg build where 7 gases is the perfect amount? I feel like there is something that could be played with 7 gas geysers. Could just go like Road Ravager, I suppose. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a more macro-focused map as well. This map is made by Maris, just like Stargazers. I think this one, together with Stargazers, are going to be our macro maps for this season. Apparently Maris, the macro queen, making the more macro-focused maps. And it's mostly because of those pocket expos. Yeah, maybe not so much on Stargazers, but... Alright. Now, is SKillous gonna use the economy that he's got here to start dealing damage, or is he just gonna try and tech up? Judging by the previous couple games, wouldn't be surprised if he's gonna go for that second option. There's a prism and everything too. It's forcing out a lot of units out of the Zerg. SKillous only has a... Well, he's got 10 gateways here, but he's only warping in 4 units at once. So I almost feel like this is once again just a bit of a distraction squad while he's building up that work account. A couple of roaches over here on the left side of the map. I love it. Stalkers and that photon cannon are going to be able to get rid of that just fine, but creating a little bit of distraction, forcing in a couple of warp-ins over there too. Scarlett is just making roaches though. And even though you can do all kinds of fancy things when you get this much economy early on, you can also just go ahead and max out. Right? So you can max out very early if you're just gonna go drones in the early game, and then you're just gonna go roaches and ravages as a follow-up. We're now at the 7-minute mark in, like, what, 25 seconds? Scarlett is gonna be maxed out. Assuming she spends the last larva. She can max out right now. There it is. 7.5 minutes, we're maxed out. And Scarlett is just gonna go for a push. Now, SKillous has been playing a greedy game, but hasn't been playing a greedy enough game to deal with the greed that Scarlett is going for. There's a large Stalker ball on the other side of the map. Sniping the Roach Warren is actually a very good idea. Transfuses are going to keep it alive and force a couple more of those waves of those Stalker shots to go for it. But honestly, like, there's such a large amount of roaches that Scarlett can just split up her force. New Roach Warren coming up inside of the main base. Hatchery on the left side, or Nexus on the left side, will be killed. 16 probes have already gone down. Okay, there's the infestation pit. Could be for a hive, but it could even be for like swarm host play. I would be totally up for swarm host play in a situation like this. Yeah, so despite the fact that SKillous played a greedy game, he keeps on focusing so much on those upgrades and like... I don't think I like it. I think it's a bit too passive. Like, it works well against players that are a little bit lower up as far as the skill level goes. But I'm a bit afraid that against the best Zerg players in the world, when you give them this much room to do whatever they like, they're gonna do things that you won't like too much. Right now, only 9 minutes into the game, Scarlett is pretty much doubling her opponent's supply. She's going into a hive, she's going into a Bailing's Nest, she's going into, or not centrifugal hooks, that's something we'll see here in a little bit, but the pathogen glands. The Infestor Energy upgrade. What are you gonna do right now if you're... What are you gonna do if you're SKillous? Okay, Robo Bay, fair enough. Maybe start going for just some Disruptor Balls or something along those lines, but I think Scarlett is more than happy with the damage that she's dealt. She's gonna go into a hive right now and then follow it up with some higher tech units too. Oh. Scarlett thinking about basketball for a second. National Canadian sport is hockey, isn't it? Anyway. Maybe if it would have been basketball, she would have reached those corrosive biles there. A couple of... well, she's playing pretty safe here, too. Yeah, I think the main reason why she's playing so safe is because every Zerg player in the book has lost one too many games to just mass disruptor play. You pretty much always expect there to be some disruptors inside of the opponent's main base, and while roaches and ravagers can be microed, it's also a bit of a gamble, so... Few infestors coming up. Makes sense. Adrenal glands researching here too. There's the Spire. Surprised that she's playing this passive as a follow-up after dealing that much damage, though. I think there was definitely an opportunity to go in for the kill. Maybe even the, you know, the snipe here on the Nexus would have been enough. Anyhow, this is SKillous scouting, you know, the disaster of the current game that he's in. He's like, maybe there's not a... Yep, there's a hive too. Alright. The next step in the plan of Scarlett. Bailing speed, +1 melee, adrenal glands, and aspire. Good force fields over there. Disruptors are starting to join the battlefield, 2 at a time. +3 attack is coming up as well for SKillous. Bailings here coming in from the left side too. They're now going to finish up their centrifugal hooks. Good purification Nova, but are there enough units available right now for the Protoss player to deal with all of this? That Bailing flank is coming in from the side. It blew up pretty much all the Zealots before they finish warping in. Another Disruptor wanders down the ramp from the main base. It's going to be able to snipe quite a few of those units, but GG is cold. And just like that, Scarlett wins the ESL Open Cup 128 for North America.